Yeah.
This is a very good point which Neelika actually brought in, and will I think start there. That this preparation for getting into an engineering college is a very tasking journey when you have a lot of pressure. I don't know how much liberal your parents were because I virtually don't know what pressure sounds because I come from a humanities background. I had told my parents, and even they had told me the same thing that listen, science and commerce, it's not your job. I told them the same thing. I'll go to arts. So 11th, 12th, I did arts. I
Right.
had nothing. And then I got into GLC and so. But that is not the majority of the country and the students which are facing right now. There are a lot of
Right.
expectations from students currently. So, would you say that yes, this journey actually kind of gave you a personal experience of what mental health problem actually looks like or how it is actually we don't have any resources to deal with them.
Right, right, absolutely. I think until I actually joined college, like in the first year, the concept of mental health in my head also was very nascent. Like I thought people go to psychiatrists, oh, when they are mentally ill. Like if you remember when we were kids, we often used to say, "Hey, you should, go. Should I take you to Agra? There's a mental hospital there,"
Yeah,
as a joke.
yeah,
That was our concept of mental health,
yeah,
and that's how nascent it was for each one of us. And you can't blame us that hey, we were wrong. We didn't know better. Like that's what was told to us, that hey, you go to a psychiatrist only when you're mentally ill. Like even if you see Bollywood or you see pop culture references, it was filled with that hey, if you're crazy or something like that, that's when you need to kind of seek mental health.
yeah,
But when I kind of broadened my horizons when I came to college, and I learned more about mental health because of the personal experience that I went through in the 11th and 12th, as Nilika rightly pointed out. That's a collective experience. I think almost all engineering students share, like that amount of pressure of getting into an IIT or an NIT, where the acceptance rate is so low that it's almost impossible to kind of get in, and the competition is insane. And uh, it's kind of amplified in centers like Kota, centers
oh
like
yeah,
Vizag, where students go there to prepare for these entrance exams to kind of get, and there is so much expectations from their parents that hey, now these kids will kind of go into IIT. And I've seen I've heard a lot of stories where you get locked into rooms. You're like, you have to study here for 6 hours, 7 hours, and there is no contact with your parents, so you're allowed 30 minutes of phone time every week. You can call your parents for 30 minutes, and that's all the connection you have to the external world. So imagine the amount of pressure and the stress that they go through. So
yeah,
which brings us to why we decided that we will only focus on Indian students with our venture, because the kind of problems Indian students face are so unique and
yeah.
and are plenty. So there has to be an organization that is able to focus on each of these issues and try to find some solution or give and provide an accessible support. There is no emotional support that these students get. So that's I think so. I think you're extremely right to say that it stemmed from both our personal experiences and experiences that we know a lot of us collectively shared because how the education system is designed.
And I
Right,
think to
right.
just add to that, the only thing I would say is that, these issues are something that have been existing since a while now. It's just that people didn't know how to navigate through and that there were options. They make it seem like these coaching institutes make it seem like your life is over if you don't make it. And people don't, teach you how to deal with failure and the fact that, it's okay to not be okay. Like that's something that needs to be instilled in us. And another thing is that, you see all these movies like Three Idiots and Kota Factory and things like that, where they're actually highlighting these issues through a bit of humor. But these issues are very real. Like, statistically speaking, there is one Indian student that commits suicide every hour. So it's that bad in our country. And I think that was something that really pushed me and Sagar when we decided to do something related to mental health. And luckily we come from a privileged background, so we had the resources. Like I wouldn't ever say that my parents pressurized me into taking science or something like that. I've been very lucky, but I kept expectations from myself which I saw that I wasn't able to meet beyond a point. And then what happens is when you go through these issues, you tend to trivialize them, and you're like, as Sagar mentioned, that maybe I'm not mad, or like my issues are not that big. There are people who have it worse, and you trivialize and you internalize the thing, and you don't know how to navigate. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to break the stigma, and I think that's where when Spain happened, like Sagar and I, we could go for Harvard World Month, and we were privileged enough. We got selected for it. We went, we pitched our idea in the Social Venture Challenge, and luckily, they saw scope in helping us, and then they believed in us, so they funded our project, and that's how we started
Oh,
our venture. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think what Sagar talked about is one line sum up which we and the Indian problem, and why we focus only on India is, and the problem can be summed up in one line, and it's called Sharma ji ka beta. That's one line, right? So
Yeah,
Indians have
absolutely.
this Samajika problem syndrome in their minds, and especially Indian parents. And this brings to, I mean, if Sagar wanted to add something, if I'm
Yeah, I think one more thing, since Nelika brought it up, she said privileged and student like our parents not pressuring us to go into science and things like that. I think again when it comes to families that come from maybe a lower income or a middle income background, for them they have been sold the dream that hey, if you are an engineer you will get a job and a stable income. And for people where मतलब उनको 3 time का खाने का they have to think about every meal, for them that stable income becomes aspirational, and that aspirationals are pinned onto these individuals, saying that these individuals will achieve us. So mental health, while we're tackling in it India, there are a lot of problems that are like nuances that come into place as well, which is why when if you look at our like wherever we talk about us, we are very clear about Indian students, because both of them come with different sets of problems. You might
yeah,
not find the same problems in the West. You might not find a problem where individuals are not able to access mental health care, or their parents told them to do science because hey, we need a stable income and you need to get us money and get a job. So these are extremely unique problems to India, and they need to be. So we are trying to tackle the aspect that hey, if that's been the case for you, uh, we are here to help. Like we won't be able to help you with maybe the jobs aspect or maybe those things, but we will be definitely here to hear you out, understand the pressure that you are in, because these individuals will never share it with their parents, because their parents are already under pressure. They're already
yeah,
trying to understand income and everything, so they will, these children will, being the good children that they will never share it with their parents. They're like nahi na, main apne paas hi rakhunga. So
yeah,
for them to get access of these professionals who are trained to empathize with you, to try and give you perspective, that is immense. Like I have seen a lot of individuals, like when they stumble upon the concept of therapy or the concept of mental health, it's just literally changed their lives. So that's something that I wanted to tackle with when it comes to mental health. And with Mocha, I'm trying to tackle the jobs aspect, but
yeah,
more on that later.
yeah, definitely.